All right, it's Media Day. We are talking 6-5A Division II with John Fish from Woodrow Wilson. Coach Fish, thank you very much for joining us. My first question is, I'm interested to see how Coach liked the zone districts last year that you got. You saw that you were in a 10-team district, and you're probably like, well, I don't know, we're not going to have to find any non-district games, but one or two, and then you had to find, four, and you had the zone style thing and a little playoff at the end. Talk about just going through it. What kind of positive and negatives were there in that zone play?
Yeah, it was interesting. By the time that I had taken over at Woodrow, a lot of that had already been set in place. And so when I stepped in, that obviously was new to me. I'd never done the zone thing, and obviously playing 4 non-conference games. And, our non-district games were against 3 6A schools and a really, really, really good 5A school. So our schedule, even leading up into the actual zone play, our kids were battle tested, and it was very intentional in playing those schools to prepare us for the playoffs and to get us to ultimately reaching the standard that we want to raise at Woodrow. But when you got into the zone play, it was interesting because the games have so much more importance, and I don't mean that in the sense of they're not all important, but the reality is that there's a whole nother zone of your actual district. And so when you're talking about 4 games are going to determine really whether you make the playoffs or not. It's like I remember back at Lone Star, and I think it was 2013. We're in a 5-team district, and it's like, man, one bad night and it's all over. You know what I mean? And so, it would really put a lot of pressure on making sure we were in those seeding games, because after you play those 4 games, you're sitting there going, you're either playing to have seeding in the playoffs, or you're just playing a game just to play a game. And so it created kind of a new kind of, almost a playoff, atmosphere before you're ever in the playoffs, which I did like. And then once you get into the seeding games, that's even more interesting, because these are teams that are in your district, but you haven't seen them at all the entire year. Generally, if you're in a district with somebody, when you exchange film, you're seeing people along the way. Well, these are teams that you don't ever see their film, just simply because they're not playing the same zone you are. And so it kind of feels, when you get in those seeding games, like it's the first round of the playoffs a little bit. And so that was interesting. Kind of created a little kind of interesting tone to games, just to be able to figure out where you're going to be at as far as your seeding in the district.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about 2023. You got the luxury of having a tri-district MVP coming back in at a position that you kind of want the experience at, which is a quarterback with Cam. Talk about him coming back, and maybe Villanueva at running back, and some of the guys you have coming back that may have have gotten the experience and maybe be able to push you through to another one of those playoff spots or seedings.
Yeah. No, obviously Cam, just an incredible player. The kid is special. There's no question about that. But where Cam is going from, last year to this year is just his leadership. His ability over the past year to grow, as far as, bringing up all the guys around him and becoming that guy that is, the locker room guy, the on the field guy, the off the field guy, and just understanding the position and what it means to be the quarterback. It's one thing to be talented and to put up numbers, but man, when you can go into an entire year leading into your senior year and develop a leadership that the guys around you want to play for you, those are your guys, and then you're their quarterback. And Cam has done a great job over the past year of developing those relationships, especially with our young guys, and just building that throughout last year. That's probably the most, the part of Cam I'm most excited about to see in his senior year. I know the dude's going to light it up. He's incredible. He does such a good job preparing, and man, he's like an extension of the coaching staff for us. And then to have a kid that is that bought into what we do, I know the sky's going to be the limit for him as far as his senior year is concerned, and then obviously beyond in college. So, but no, and obviously Andy is our workhorse running back, man. I expect him to have a big time year this next year, just simply not just because of his talent and his abilities, but up front. We started 3 sophomores last year on the offensive line, a junior that, was kind of his first opportunity to go out and start. We graduated one senior at left tackle. And so the kind of growing pains of those three sophomores that, they kind of had to go through last year, I'm so fired up to see what they do next year. And just, there's no value to be able to play some experience. And so the way they work this off season and just, I think up front is going to be our most improved area. And just to be able to see us establish, a much better run game this next year behind those guys. I know Andy will have a ton of success from that. And then our other running backs as well with him. And so, man, yeah, you talk about younger guys that maybe people don't know much about, offensively, we started four seniors at the skill positions last year. And so replacing those guys, Jamel Tony Black, who broke the school record in receiving last year, there's some guys that we got to replace, but man, we got a young group of kids that are prepared to take it and keep building it. Luke Walsh should be a sophomore for us, and he's a 6'3", 185 pound kid that, he still doesn't know what he doesn't know, but the kid's got just incredible raw talent. You've got a slot receiver in Jacob Chrissy, who is dynamic like Jamel is, but a little bit thicker, a little bit more downhill runner that we're excited to see him go out and see what he does. And then defensively, when you look at our defense, man, we returned Sawyer Platt at our Mike linebacker, and you want to talk about your prototype, exactly what you're looking for in a big-time dude at linebacker, man. That's Sawyer, and just I'm so fired up to see him take over our defense. Our defense plays with an edge, and it starts with him. So I'm excited about him as we go into the next year. Nico Vitale, who will be a junior, he'll be right next to him, an inside linebacker, and they're like I call them the Smash Brothers, man. They're your ultimate, like, I'm coming downhill and I'm plugging, just go-getters and fun kids to be around that freaking work their tails off. And then, we got Brady Battle, who's coming back at safety for us, that I expect him to have a big-time senior year as well at safety. And then some really good players in our secondary at the corner position, and Jamion Nash, who he'll probably be a regional qualifier after tomorrow in the 400, just a kid that's just a blazer. We got some really good kids coming back, a lot of talent around the field, and just kids that play hard, man, and they love each other, and they love this program, and just the way they lay it all out on the field on a Friday night is fun to watch.
I know we're 4 months away from the season started, but like I said, we're in Texas, so you have to talk about football 365 days a year, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it.
No doubt. That's why, man, there's not a better place in the country to coach Texas high school or high school football than Texas. There ain't no season, there ain't no off season. It's always football season in Texas, baby.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Coach.
All right. Thank you.